I build business systems for companies doing anywhere from 50K to over 4 million a year. And I want to show you the step-by-step of what I do in my high-ticket consultancy so that you can build it yourself. If you're someone who's wanting to take your systems to the next level, to increase capacity, improve the amount of money that you're getting, and actually take back your time, then in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what I do from start to the foundational processes of my high-ticket Notion consultancy, and you can follow along. If you can't be bothered building it yourself, then there's a link down below if you'd like to get in contact with me and we can have a chat. The video is split into two main parts. The first is the questions that I ask my customers in order to understand exactly what they need. And then the rest of the video is me actually building out the foundations and showing you exactly how to do it. So if you want to skip to those parts, the chapters will be there. Let's get right into it. So my main focus for this particular part is to build the foundations for the client. We've talked about our strategy. I've had that call, understanding exactly what they need. I've given them the offer and they've paid the invoice. So now it's actually about, okay, let's build the foundations and get the first report to them. There's two main reasons that I want to do this. One, I want to showcase that I'm on my game. I know what I'm doing and I know how to move forward, that I'm clear on everything that's going on, but also gives them the opportunity to use it as quickly as possible. What I've found that when I'm building systems for people or when I'm building the businesses for them, if they don't use it early on and they don't start to get to used to what Notion is or the systems that they're using, no matter what it is, then it can often take them far longer to actually get used to what's going on. Because oftentimes it will take maybe 4 to 8 weeks for people to really get involved. But the sooner that you get them doing it, the sooner they actually find all the wee nooks and crannies that they actually need in order to understand what actually needs to go on. So I'm going to take you through the questions that I was asking Jack, or the high performance coach that I'm going to be working with for this Notion build. And then I'm going to take you through the build that we got, through the conclusions of those questions. And from there, we're going to build out the actual foundations of what's going on to get the first report to him so that he has everything that he needs in order to move forward and get feedback to me. Okay, on the screen right now, you're going to be able to see the questions that I ask related to the actual client themselves. When I'm in the discovery call stage, I want to understand sort of what's going on. I want to know how they're getting on, where they're positioned, if there's somewhere that I can help, if there's somewhere that I can't, because at the end of the day, I don't want to sell to someone that I can't help. And I don't want to sell to someone that doesn't fit what I can actually do for their business. Because Notion doesn't fit everyone. Notion isn't a place that everyone likes to use. There's a lot of other platforms that people are wanting to use and wanting to utilize. I predominantly focus on Notion, but can do other areas. So if I can't help them or they're not in the right space for me to help them, then I don't want them. I think this is one of the big problems that a lot of people do with business is they just try to get the money in for the sake of getting the money in. But I want to make sure that I can actually help someone before doing that. So obviously we've got the start date here. The client is doing a split payment for what they're doing over the course of 2 months. And from here, this is the questions that I usually ask them to begin with. This is going to genuinely be just a rundown of this business as I build this with you. These main questions give me all the ammunition that I need in order to figure out whether or not they are actually the right fit for me. So how big is the team and what is the structure of the team? If they have more than one person, how many people are actually going to be using this Notion system? You know, how many people are going to have to train to use this? If there's a lot of people, if there's a lot of different teams, then I'm going to have to know exactly what I can do to help them. And if I don't know that, then I'm either going to be undercharging myself heavily for the work that I'm doing, or I'm not going to give them exactly what they're looking for their team. Obviously, what would you want to be using the system first? Like, would there be any team specific areas that they would want? This again gives me clarity on where their focus lies first and foremost. If I have a team, let's say, that has 10 or 20 employees, and there is a sales area, there's a marketing area, but we want the marketing area to use it first, then I'm not going to build out the sales one first because they want their priorities focused on first and foremost. So that's always that question that gives me that. Talk to me about your current systems. What do you use them for? Obviously, if I understand what their current systems are, understand where they're potentially going wrong with it, it gives me the opportunity to give some of my insight, because even if I don't end up working with them, I still want them to go away from the call thinking, you know what, this guy has actually helped me quite a lot here. This also gives me the opportunity to diagnose some problems when I'm going through the offer that I'm doing for them. And it just makes sure that we're on the same page with what's going on. Why is it you're wanting to look at Notion is one of the ones that just, again, it gives you more clarity of why they've chosen Notion. Some people don't like the platform, others really love it, others have used it for years, others haven't touched it at all. If you just gain a little bit of insight and knowledge as to why they want to go with it, it gives you the opportunity to kind of bridge that gap between them. The next question is, what is it that pushed you down wanting to change your systems now and take the step into and improving them? You're wanting to understand is kind of what caused them to reach out to you. What is it that made them want to work with you, that made them want to actually reach out and see that they want to improve their systems? This is a great question for that. What problems have you been running into recently by not having these things in place? Again, it's just your ability to diagnose the problems that they have. If they don't have problems that you can fix, then you're not going to work with them. You want to figure out what the problems are, because if you know the problems and you know you can fix them, you can give them a good offer to actually fix those. What would you be able to do if you managed to get these systems in place? Again, this is giving them the insight as to what could happen if they have them. Could they scale their business further? Could they hire more people? What are the things that they could actually do with these systems in place? Can you break down for me a little further? What would you be looking for your systems to do? This is to gain deeper insight as to the things I'm wanting to build for them. If they have knowledge in their mind of what's going on, then I can give them the opportunity to just express all the things that are in their mind. What a lot of people tend to do for me is they ask me, could you show me some work that you've done in the past? And this is obviously where my portfolio and stuff like that can be shown of previous client work, of what Notion is capable of. And I'm actually working on building a sort of portfolio area of me going through different client work that I've done to be able to showcase this. Now what I'm going to be able to do is showcase videos like this on YouTube to actually show them, okay, this is what Notion is capable of. This is all the things that it can do. Is this something you're looking for? Are there any questions related to Notion I can answer to help you understand it more on this call? Just giving them free rein to ask any questions that they have. Always people have some questions that they want answered. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And you give them the opportunity to do so. And then how quickly would you want something like this to be in place? Now, this is actually a really important question, something that maybe not so many people think about. When you are charging for what you do, if someone wants it at a really fast rate and you maybe have other priorities at that point, you need to be charging more for what you're doing. If people want priority focus, if people want their stuff being delivered really, really quickly, then you have to preface that that comes at a higher price, because you have other clients that want to work with you. You have other people who want to spend time with you, actually see and showcase the work that you're doing with them. So this is a really important question to ask, because then you're able to push the offer towards them from doing so. You know, the offer of, if you want this done, it's going to cost a little bit more purely based on the time scale that you want this done by. As oftentimes the Notion stuff can take a little bit longer if they're wanting a lot of back and forths, or if they're having their team getting involved. Again, this is where the timescales can add up and you can work with them for longer periods of time. So it's important to know how quickly they want it built. If this is something that's a rush job, then again, you should be charging what the rush job costs, because you have to put all of your focus onto that compared to some other clients. So these are the questions that I ask every client that's coming through the door. This is mainly in the discovery call area or section for me to understand, so that I can go away and present them an offer. So I asked these questions to Jack, I presented an offer to him and he accepted. Obviously he'd done the split payment, and this is what the build includes. So I always write this in the offering of what I do for any client. So I showcase the build and what it's going to include. So the complete business hub to bring everything into one area, templates included in it all, automations for what he needs. Jack was looking particularly for just an overall structure and foundation for his business. He's incredible at what he does within his coaching. He just wanted to have a place where everything was in the one area and everything worked well together. Jack's built systems before and built the things for himself, and areas work for him, but having everything in the one space that he's just going to be able to use for years to come, especially as he scales the business, is going to be really, really important. So we've got a client hub for all the clients with notes, calls, developments, a traffic light system and pipeline, which again, I'm going to show you me building that. Courses and educational learning, content hub for planning all content, projects and tasks, business developments, which working on the business bottleneck removers and business progress, testimonial spaces, marketing strategies, SOPs, training for clients. This is the program itself, where you can map out the inner workings of the program, an idea and brain dump area, and then a journaling space. We're also looking at having a sort of master area for things to be filtered down, and then end of week reviews and quarterly reviews to see what he's actually looking for. So we've got all of this information. And again, this is what makes it really, really easy for me to build these things out at a good time scale, because when I have all of this information and the client has checked off like, yep, I'm happy with this, this is good to go, I want this to be done, it gives me the opportunity to just build this out with their idea of exactly what's going to be happening. So what happens next and how I work is, once the client is paid, I send a loan video over of how they can give me access to their Notion and I can start building. I'm going to be building this on my Notion to begin with, because some clients maybe take a little bit longer to give me access to their Notion, but I don't want that to stop me from getting ahead of the game, especially if I'm busy doing the other stuff in my different businesses, or I'm actually doing work for Notion clients. Then I want to make sure I can start early, and it means that I'm ahead of the game with what I'm doing. This then allows me to place the foundations of the business hub and to get the categories they want added to their systems first. So if there's specific areas that they wanted prioritized, which some clients do, some clients don't mind so much, then I can start on that. And then it also allows me to give them a progress report, something I've introduced over the last maybe 2 months or so, to show them how I've got on that day, the results of sort of what's happened, the next steps for me and the next steps for them. If I want them to test this early on, then these progress reports are really, really important to do. And I want to give them an overview of what's actually happening. So this is how I usually work in the beginning processes. Now what we're going to do is get into the fun stuff. I'm actually going to show you me building out the beginning foundations for Jack and then showing you the report that I built for him from those foundations. Now, you probably will see me at some points looking over to this screen as I'm building it on this one. It's purely because I'm going to have this area that I was showing you earlier on my other screen so that I can see which areas to start with and which areas to go for. Now, in the future, what I'm going to be showing off is some of the things that I'm going to be building in my workspace. I've actually created a new team space for all of this Notion business stuff to help every single one of you understand exactly what I'm doing and show the transparency of how things are going on. So if I do look over here at some points, it's because of that. Okay, so first and foremost, we are going to create the homepage for these people. Now, with every homepage, I'm following quite a similar sort of structure for the home bases at the moment, no matter what type of client I'm working with. The reason for this is I've tried multiple different ways of actually starting these home bases and starting these things for clients. And I've found this to be probably the most fluid as well as the easiest for people to understand with what's actually going on. So I'll show you the sort of layout of what I usually go with originally, just to give you a base understanding of what's actually happening and what I actually do for these clients so you know what's going on. Originally, I start with 2 call-out blocks. Now, call-out blocks are fantastic and something that's really, really underutilized when it comes to Notion, because when we're looking at 2 different databases, let's say, for example, I have one database here and a second database here. You can't actually put databases into columns when they're on their own. You can see I can put it above, I can put it to the side. I'm not able to do that. However, when you use call-out blocks, you can actually put these into 2 different sort of columns, and then that means that you can have 2 different databases shown from 2 different sides. So that's one of the fantastic ways why I really, really like these call-out blocks and something that I quite enjoy to use. So I always start with the home and the overview of this week. It basically means that this home base is what people are going to see as soon as they come onto their Notion. As soon as they come onto their systems, what do they actually need? Now, alongside that, I usually create 3 call-out blocks that are predominantly for the main things that people use. So let's just say, for example, people use Google Drive, and then we'll duplicate this, and let's just say they use LinkedIn, and then finally, let's just say they use Instagram. What I can do from here is then split this into 3 columns. I would always put these as bold with what I'm doing. You can actually select a custom icon for it to show what you're wanting to do. And you can download these icons from different places, but I always like to just download them and have specific icons for the most used apps or websites or anything that someone is using in their businesses. Again, lowering the amount of time that they need to spend actually getting to where they want to go. Now that I've got all 3 of these linked up, you see already it's coming into a little bit of something that is structured. It's a little bit easier to actually see and visualize. So what you can do with these when you have them at the top is if you highlight over them, there is an ability to add a link. So you can obviously see there is links that you can add into these spaces to add your LinkedIn homepage, to add your Google Drive, to add your Instagram. And something that Notion now has is the ability to connect with Google Drive. So you can actually embed your Google Drive stuff into here, obviously preview of files, and you can also now do AI connections to Google Drive as well. And there's multiple other platforms that you can do it with, but it is giving you the opportunity to do that. And what I always like to start with. Now, the next thing that I always like to have on the home base is buttons. Now, the buttons again are for quick actions, things that we are wanting to do on the homepage, things that we are wanting to actually adopt. And I always like to put these, maybe like 4 or 5 of them. It depends what people are looking for. It depends how complicated someone's actual Notion is, but we'll start with 4 and I'll just kind of break down what these can be. So I'm going to put a new task in here because these are the things that usually happen. New client call, we'll do something like that. Jack was looking for SOPs, so again we're going to do a new SOP, and then the final one, maybe something like a new project if we've got that going on. So we've got a new project happening here. And again, we can create buttons to do specific things because obviously we can add actions here. We can insert blocks, we can add pages, we can edit pages, we can show a confirmation. So what that means is like, are you sure you want to continue when you press this? So if I press this, ask me, are you sure you want to continue? It just gives us the opportunity to actually do a lot of things with these buttons, all from your main homepage. So the other things I'm going to do just to make this look a little bit nicer, as aesthetic is important, not essential, but definitely something that's important. We're going to make sure we add all of those in. We've got the main home base of what's actually going on. So this is how I usually like to start my main area here for any business that I'm building, the foundation of what's going on. It gives me the opportunity to see exactly what I'm looking for. It gives me the opportunity to know exactly what I'm going for with this. And it means that I start on the right track. So we've got the main areas to begin with. Next up, what I look to do is to actually build out the core of these databases. Now, the reason that I build databases inside its own page and inside its own area is because sometimes you don't want clients to be accidentally deleting full databases. But if you create it in a separate area, and I call it the core, that's something that I always tend to do. I don't know why I've started doing that, but it's something that I've done. It means that I can keep all of the databases in this one area, and I don't need to fret too much about the client going in and accidentally deleting everything. So I always come in here and I'll name this core databases, and we'll change this icon to the same. Now, what this is going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to put every single database that I now create into this area. I don't need to worry too much about what's going on. I can have them all in the core, and I can show off all of the other databases related to this, where the foundations start and where the databases are actually created is in the core. Now, the next thing I usually like to do is I like to add the link to this homepage. So add the link to this homepage, it means that anytime I click this button, it's going to take me back to this page. Now, what I tend to do with clients is I create this callout block to become a synced block. Now, what a synced block does is it basically means that whatever happens in this block, if I add this as a block to another page using the synced block feature, it means that if I were to change something on here, it will change on that other page. But I'll show you exactly what I mean. If we have the home and the core here, and I copy the link to this block and I come into the core, if I paste this in here and I paste in sync, you're going to see the red box around it. That means it is now a synced block. If I change this synced block in here, let's just say I put home 2 and I go onto the home base, you're now going to see that home 2 is here. And if I actually delete this and I go back onto the core, you'll see that home 2 has now gone. This is because it's a synced block. Now, what this allows me to do is it allows me to go in and out of databases without having to maybe go back onto the sidebar, without having to come in here and click out of what's going on. It allows me to maintain everything that I'm actually looking to do without having to go back and forth for everything that's actually working. It's just a really, really simple way of me utilizing the Notion, creating fluidity within the Notion without clients having to go in and out of everything, which you tend to have to do when it comes to Google Drive or other systems that you use. It's not to say other systems are bad. I've used other ones that are really, really good, but there's some that don't make it that fluid to get to the different places that you want to get to. And I use sync blocks to help me do that. And you'll see as I build the foundations of this first starting point, how that's actually done. The home here, I always like to add the home icon, which they finally added one that wasn't in an earthquake or a flood, but an actual homepage. So we've finally got the home there. And this is our kind of starting point with what we're wanting to do. Next up with what's going on, I always like to choose the main areas I want to start with. So first and foremost, I'm going to start with the projects and tasks, as that's usually something that most people have saw or understood before and kind of know what's going on. So if we come into the core, where I'm going to create all of the core databases, we're going to do /database and we're going to create a full page. Now, what this full page allows us to do is it doesn't allow us to edit like underneath. You can see I can't actually type the way I normally can with pages. If I come back out here, you can see I can type underneath, but in this database I can't. It's actually quite a good thing. It allows you to keep those databases separate for everyone. It doesn't allow people to start, altering how everything's going, how everything's working. And it means that linked views of databases, something I'll take you through a little bit later on, it's going to show you exactly why you can create the linked views for multiple different views that you want without actually doing anything to this core database where it is being held. So we're going to start with projects to begin with. And with the projects, I always like to add the data one. I can't remember what it is. I think it's a chart flow. Yeah, it is. So I always like to add projects as a chart flow and always renaming these databases to work the way I want them to work the way that I see them fitting. So I'm going to put this database as high performance coach so that all of these, when I'm linking the databases, all come back to the relations of this, and we'll show why I'm doing that a little bit later on. I usually like to follow a simple formula when it comes to my databases and why I do them and how I do them, but I'll take you through exactly what those are as we're going through. Now we have the projects sort of database layout. It's now about filling in the information that we want related to this project's layout itself. And how we're going to do that is breaking it down into a few key areas. Now, to start with, if you've got multiple people working on this and you've got people who are with you on your team, then what you're going to want to have is actually whose project this is. So if you do person here, you're going to see the type, and you can have the person where you can actually link people into the actual person area. If you have multiple employees doing this sort of stuff, then that is something that you 100% want to add. Now, Jack himself is currently going to be using this himself, so we don't need that just as of yet, but maybe in the future, that's something you'll need. Next, what we definitely want is date of completion. So when do we want this to be complete by? You can also add info in here of a description. So let's say you do have people on your team and you want to describe a little bit more as to why you're wanting something to be filled in or how you want something to be filled in. So in this area of date and completion, you could put, when is this project to be completed by? And what that means is when you come into the icon, it's going to say, when is this project to be completed by? It just gives you the opportunity to see what's going on, to see how these things work, to see how this actually happens, and make sure that everyone's on the same page with it, rather than coming to ask you all the time of what's going on. Now, something that I'm going to add a little bit in the future is the sort of completion percentage. Now, this is actually going to work in a roll-up basis, something we'll touch on a little bit later on, but it means you're going to be able to see the completion percentage of how far along you actually are with this project and how close you are to complete it. Now, what I want to do next is actually create a select. Now, what a select does is it allows you to select one option of these. You can use a multi-select if you want to do multiple options where you can select them, but I usually like to do a select for the project reward. Now, this is basically your ability to see, is it a good reward? Is it a high reward for your company? Is it not? Is it quite low? And it means that you can prioritize the ones that are the highest. Now, obviously, you can sort these however you want. We'll put the high there, we'll put the medium as an orange, and we'll put the low as a red. These can be sorted based on what you actually are prioritizing, rather than just, I'm doing a project for the sake of doing it. Let's just kind of do it this way. So let's just name this project name, and then also get this in here so we have the sort of congruency with the icons that we're doing. I quite like to do that when I see a lot of people doing Notion templates and stuff. They kind of keep the icons the same, and I quite like to make them just a little bit different. So the next thing that I kind of like to add just for data is created time. You don't need to have this, but it certainly is something that you can add in. It's certainly something that can be there. It's not needed, it's not necessary, but I don't think there's anything wrong with actually doing it. Just to keep it there. And you can always hide it in view if you don't actually need it and you don't actually see any use case for it. Now, obviously to begin with, this looks quite short. There doesn't actually seem to be quite a lot in it. We could just name the project, and even if we open this, it's just a blank page. But now what I look to do is I actually look to, one, relate this to tasks, because inside projects, you usually have tasks that need to be complete in order to make this fully complete. And the second one is templates. Now, templates in Notion are created using this new area here. If we go into the drop down, you can see replicate page formats inside this database with templates. That means that you can actually create a template with what's going on and how you want it to look. So obviously with the created time, I don't really need this at this moment in time, so I'm going to always hide this. But the date of completion, what I'm always going to do is I'm going to be completed by today. Now, the reason that I do this is because when you are adding a new project, or when you are wanting someone else maybe to come on board with you and doing projects yourself, there's no way just as of yet to do, 3 or 4 days since this project has been completed or when this template is completed. But what you can do is you can do from now and today of the date that is duplicated. What this means is that when we create the home bases or when we create the projects and task actual page, we're going to be able to see all of the projects that we created that day, and you're going to have to choose when you want those projects to be done. It just keeps things front of mind, and it allows you to make it more simple for yourself. We're not going to put a project reward template because I don't think there's any point in doing that, as we don't actually know what all of these projects are going to be. Not all of them are going to be high priority, but it still is important to kind of know and do. So I'm actually going to use one of the templates that I've done before from what I kind of utilize. But again, we're not going to be able to fill all of this out just yet, purely because we haven't got the tasks database in place for this to be filled out. There's actually something else I forgot to add into this main area for the databases themselves to begin with, and that's actually a checkbox of fully complete. Because obviously if we complete this project, we don't want to be seeing it all the time. We don't want the project to always be coming up. We don't want the project to always be present if we've completed it, because it's not going to be actually visible anymore. We're not going to need it, or it's not going to be necessary. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to put fully complete at the top. Now, what we're going to name this template is a new project. And I'm going to put the target as a dartboard. So obviously with this, then we can put this here. We've got the new project. We're going to put it here. What I always like to do is I go full width, just purely for the sake you give yourself more room. Now, what I'm actually going to do here is related to the task database that I'm going to create just now. I am going to create the specific tasks that are related to this specific project when they're created. And I'll show you exactly how I'm going to do that. So if we put a heading number 2, because it's always good to do, related to project, I'm going to put a divider under this to make it look a little bit nicer. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a callout block. I'm going to add in maybe checkboxes so that we can see that it's going to be the tasks. We'll add it here, and we're going to do tasks for this project. Now, what's going to happen in here is I'm going to create a related database to the tasks database that we're just going to create to show purely the tasks that are related to this project. And I'll show you exactly how I'm going to do that. Now, if we come back out here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the default template that I've just created for all views in projects. Now, you can actually select only on projects view, so only on this view that's been created, but I want to have it for all views and projects because we're going to be using this for the rest of the projects that were created. Why that's really, really powerful as an option is something people don't often think about, is that if I create another view in here for projects and I just name this, let's just say completed projects, I can select a different type of actual template that I've created for this second view only to be shown on this specific one. And it means that you can create multiple templates that can be used in multiple different areas whenever you'd like. It can be really, really powerful if used in the right way. If we come back out to the core now, we can see we've got the projects, and I always like to add this into the core databases just so it is neat and tidy. Now, let's add a second database. We're going to name this tasks. Now, the really cool thing about Notion is you can relate databases to one another. So what that means is that if I am to select the plus button here and I do a relation, you're going to be able to see that I can connect databases and mention database pages useful for connecting items across your workspace. So what this means, if I click this right now, the project's HPC is going to come up. Now, if I link this, it's going to ask me some information. Do I want there to be a limit for each database point that I put in for the project? I'm going to put no limit, but you can have one page. And do I want to show this on the project's database? Which means if I wanted to see all of the projects that I've linked to these tasks, it will show on the project's database. Now, I always do that, and I just name it tasks, and you'll see here that it's actually going to be related in a 4 key area. So it's going to go from the projects to the tasks and then to the tasks. So this is taking it from the database, it's shown on the databases, and then it's giving me the information I'm looking to do. So this little icon shows that it's now related. What I always like is I add the icon that I have for the actual database onto there. Now I'm going to come out of full screen so that I can show you 2 of the databases quite quickly, and I'm not having to go through them all the time and go back and forth with the full screen, but this is just going to give you the information that you're looking for, because if we come on here, you're going to now see that tasks is showing up on here. And again, I'm going to put the checkbox so that we know what is going on. Now, I'm going to put the tasks a little bit further down so that they're in a better position. And obviously, we're going to put this to tasks. I'm going to do a checkbox again, and we know exactly what's going on. So same as we done last time, I'm going to add in a template for all of these. And again, I'm going to put this tasks. Here we go, new task, new cover, full width like we usually do. And this gives us the opportunity to every new task that we're going to be entering, it shows up right here. So I'm going to change this to the default once again, showing us exactly what is going on for these new tasks. We've got the task itself, we've got the projects that it's related to, and now we want to fill in a little bit more information. So if we're looking at tasks themselves and we're wanting these to be related to the projects, what type of things would we be wanting to have? Well, just like before, we're going to want a checkbox for complete. So we're going to have a question mark on that. Have we completed the task? And I usually like to just lower this to the end so that it's really, really easy to see. I'm going to delete these 3 at the moment because we don't actually need them. Next, what we would be wanting to do is have another select being the priority. So the way I usually like to break this down is priority of low, high, and then attack list. So attack list is basically like your highest priority. Really, really should be focusing on this, and it's important to do. So it just means that you're not having a medium. Mediums always seem to be quite useless, and we don't tend to get away from them. So if it's the attack list, I usually do is that's something that's to be completed by today. The high is to be completed by this week, and then the low is to be kind of like put on the back burner, but still needs to be completed. And this is why you can put, again, the icons in here of what these mean. So do be completed by today. And then if we come on to here, to be completed by this week. Finally, on the low, we've got to be completed down the line. So this has given us the opportunity to see these at the side. You'll see them there, to be completed by this week, to be completed down the line. And it gives us just the clarity we're looking for when it comes to that. So again, this next one we're wanting is due date. So obviously it's filled that in for us for where we're wanting it to be due, which we can put up here. Priority, due date. And again, we can lower these and change these to however we kind of see fit and with what we're wanting to do. Just like we done last time, if you have multiple people in here, you might want to have the person who you want to complete it. But if you only have you in the sort of area, then you might not need that as much. Now, what we're going to do from here is in the task database, you can have something quite simple. It doesn't have to be anything crazy within the new tasks. If you want to break this down even further, you definitely can. But what I would say is maybe have something as simple as steps to complete task. And then underneath here, just put a divider, and you can maybe add like a database list if you're wanting to add specific tasks. Now, due date with all new tasks, I'm always going to put today, and I'm not going to change any of these for what's going on. So it means that we have the template ready to go. Now, what I was talking to you about before was the ability to use the relations in your favor to actually showcase on the projects themselves. So let's actually see it in action. If I were to add a new project, we're going to see everything has actually been added related to the template that I just created. You'll see the new project here. You'll see this is actually loading with the template that I've created with the fully complete, the date of completion, the project reward, and then tasks related to this project. If we come to the task database here, we can start to link this project to specific tasks in this database. Now let's do the exact same with the task database where we add a new task in. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to task 1. I'm going to see that it's due today. And the priority, I'm going to put as an attack list priority. Now, if I want to add this to the project that we have just created, I can actually link this directly into here. And if we come into the project, you're going to be able to see task 1 is there. If we do this for task 2, it will show us the exact same thing. If I add this to the new project, and again, I'm going to put this as a high. So what you're going to see is task 2 is now coming up. This gives us the opportunity to really break down what these projects are doing and the tasks involved with them. And something I was showing you earlier on, or what I wanted to show you earlier on, was the ability of showcasing how close you are to finishing this product or this project itself. Now, what a rollup does is it allows you to actually utilize information on a different database that you've related into this database itself. So to break it down really easily, if I'm wanting to show specific information from the task database and the projects database, the rollup allows me to do that. So if I click the rollup and I use the relation of the tasks of which we've done, we can see the tasks that are related to this project itself. But what I actually want to do is I want to have a percent of not empty, but we can showcase what one we want done. Now, I want the complete one done, as that's going to give me the percentage of tasks that are complete related to this project. So if I do complete, and then what I'm wanting to do is percentage checked, it's going to show me the percentage checked of what's actually going on. I can have this in a format of a ring or a bar or a number if I would like to. Now I'm going to use a bar and I'm going to use a green bar to actually showcase what's going on. Now I'm going to do complete percentage here. And then I'm also going to do a bar and seeing how we're getting on with this. So if I come back over here, we can see the complete percentage. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, we have the complete percentage, but how does it actually work? Now, if we come over to the task database and we actually check off task 1, you're now going to be able to see that this is completed by 50%. This allows us to break down the information we're gathering even further in a really, really good and easy to understand manner. This just gives us the opportunity to see how well we're getting on with the projects, and in the future, when we're looking at filters and sorts, being able to sort the projects based on which one is close to completion and which one is maybe far off completion. Again, if we come back into the task database and we check this off, we can now see that the completed project is actually 100% complete. And at this point, when I'm showcasing these in the actual home space of the High Performance Coach area, we're going to be able to see the overview of the projects that have been completed or the tasks that have been completed and all of that sort of stuff. So if we come back into the core and we see the projects that are going on, what I now want to do is add to this template of what we've created beforehand. Now, I wanted to show you the tasks related to this project. Something that's really, really cool about Notion is you're able to do something is what is known as a linked view of the database. Now, what the linked view of the database allows you to do is it adds an existing database to this page. Now, it's taking a view from a different place to showcase a database as to how you would like to see it. So if I click on add in a view and I add in the task database that I have just created, I'm going to be able to showcase what view it is. So what I'm going to name this as tasks related to this project. And what we can do from here is we can actually select a filter that selects the project that is related to this template that I'm showcasing right here. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by this. And I'm going to save this for everyone. Obviously, if you're working yourself, you won't need to click that, but you can actually have the ability to showcase that there. With this linked view of the database, we're going to be able to see the tasks directly related to these new projects that are being created with this template. So as you can see in the filter, what it's going to be using is the new project template, which we've got right here, in showcasing the tasks that are directly related to this. Now, there's two other things I want to do with this one. We've obviously got tasks to be complete. So I'm going to be tasks to be complete. And then what we're also going to have is completed tasks for this particular project. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to sort this based on the due date, and I'm going to do it in descending order, or you can do it in ascending order. It really doesn't matter with what you're wanting to do. And then what I'm also going to select is the load limit of 10 pages. With so much information that you're going to have on Notion, I would always select doing the 10 pages purely for load times. That's the only real reason I do it for. Once Notion probably becomes better at these load times and that sort of stuff, it might be easier to have the 50 pages, but with so much information that you're going to be having, you probably also don't need 50 or 100 load limits of what's going on in the blink of an eye. You're most likely looking for one particular thing, and that's where the search bar in databases can be great. So we've obviously got the due date to be in ascending order for the things that need to be complete earliest. We've got the filter to showcase only the things that are related to these new project templates. And what I also want to do is the complete to be unchecked, as these are still to be complete. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this view of this task database, and I'm going to say tasks, completed tasks. I'm going to put a checkbox to show that that's complete. And that means we can also change the filter to be the complete is checked. Now that means it's going to showcase all the ones that are checked and all the ones that are unchecked for this task related to the project. I'm going to change this color to blue just for the sake of it, so that it's a little bit different and it stands out. Now, let me actually showcase this in action of what's actually going on. Let's just say, for example, we add a new project in, we don't have any tasks related to them. We're going to put that as a high at the moment. In this area of the tasks, we're going to add in two new tasks. We're going to have task 3 and we're going to have task 4. Now with this new project, I'm going to add it as Andy, so it's separate from this new project here. And we're going to relate both of these to the new project of what is going on. So we've got both of these now linked. We've got the attack list, and we can drag this down to actually have the attack list there. We now have task 3 and 4 related to this. Now, if I open up the new project for Andy, you're now going to see task 4 and 3 are due related to these. Now, if I change this due date to the 12th, you'll see this goes above. If I change this due date to the 6th, you'll see that this goes above. This just allows us to actually see everything that's going on related to these tasks, related to complete percentage. And also, when I check this off, the 50% increases, this goes into completed tasks. So you don't see these any longer. This is just giving us the ability to keep, again, our systems being fluid. We don't want to be spending so much time having to filter through everything and see everything that's going on. And why I complete these views of the particular databases to show exactly what clients are after. I don't want them to have to go into their spaces and fluff about with everything that's going on. I want them to be able to know exactly what they need to do, exactly how they need to do it. And it just allows us to continuously move forward with what we're doing and what we're building without everything going wrong. Okay, so we've now got the starting point of 2 databases. The final 2 things I'm going to show you today is the progress reports that I usually do for clients in order to make sure that they are keeping up to date with what's going on. And it also allows me to cover exactly what I'm doing. And then finally, I'm going to add these things into the home base for the overview of this week to showcase how the buttons work and also how the linked views of the databases work and how I tend to do it for clients, just so that you can see exactly what's going on with the foundations of building an actual business hub for someone in Notion. Now, if we come back into here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another database full page and I'm going to name it progress report. Now in the progress report area here, I'm just going to add some icons. Again, I just like to do it fluid and keep it simple without having to have everything overcomplicated with everything going on. So the way I'm going to do this here is add this in. Type is okay to stay that way. And I'm going to do progress report and I'm going to do bug fix. So these are just 2 ways that I'm able to showcase what's actually going on with their own Notion and what's actually happening as I'm working on their stuff. Change this to report. I'm also going to change this to a pen so that they can see the icons again, making it look simple. It doesn't have to look crazy. We're also going to change this to a select, as it's only ever going to be one or the other. It means that we have the different type of what's going on. So I'm going to put a checkbox in here, just add this as a type. Next, I'm going to add text, and I'm just going to put notes, and then I'm going to put a pen. I'm going to add the date of what's going on, so again, they know when the dates are happening. Finally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a URL for the Loom video that I always shoot, which you'll probably see in the bottom left-hand corner, for all of the clients that they can watch themselves of the updates that have went on. And it means that I can kind of stay on top of how things have been going as well, so that if they've watched the Loom, if they haven't, if they've not done anything with it, then I know I'm still doing the work that I've set out to do, and I'm still going to be getting paid for what I've done because I'm holding up my end of the bargain, the stick, whatever you would like to do it. The final thing I like to do with this is just create a template of reports. And then again, I'm just going to select the pencil. I'm going to change the different color. I'm going to make it the same background, and we're just going to make it full width, just so that it's easy to have and so that this can be the default template. So it looks slightly nicer of what's going on. We'll delete these and we'll add the progress and report. What I would also probably do with these is often put the date to be the day of duplication, so that we've always got that too. So we've got the report, the type, we're going to put a progress report. It's going to be for today's date, and we'll be able to fill that in once we've completed the reports of what's going on. Again, adding this into here, and we'll get started with actual building the home base. So 2 things I'm going to show you first and foremost is actually the new projects and tasks, and those being started or those being developed so that the buttons can actually do them. But first, before that, I'm going to bring in both of the projects and tasks databases into the home base. So we've obviously got the projects database right here. So I'm going to set the load limit to 10 pages. I'm going to hide the database title as it looks cleaner. I'm going to bring this into the actual overview of this week. Now, obviously, this is just taking the same view from the core database of the projects database. You'll see it's just the same view, projects database, it's showing projects, everything that's going on, but we don't want to see all of these here. Now, the amazing thing about linked views of databases is that you don't need to see everything. If I hide this in view with the created time, I no longer see it. But in the projects database and where the core it's actually being held, the created time is still there. So that's why I like to separate them, because I have full control over what I want to see here and why I want to see it. And it's not just within the database, but it's in the filtering, it's in the sorting, it's in the way that I view the table itself. There's so many things that I can do with this customized, and I'll show you exactly what those things are as well. Another awesome thing about Notion is you can actually add multiple linked views of databases that are separate from the one that you've originally got in here. So why I like overview of this week is because if I click the plus button, I can actually add the tasks in that I've done, even though it's different databases. So again, I'm going to hide this. I'm going to put the load limit to 10 pages. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort the due date by descending. So we'll see the ones that are most recent or that we've put in, but maybe you like it ascending, ones that you've not done just yet. So again, we can see the ones that we've done just there and that need to be complete. So now we've got the projects and the task databases that are in here, but now I want to actually filter these to show things that I'm looking for with a quick glance. I don't want to be hunting for the things I'm looking for. I want to be seeing the things that I need at that moment in time. How I'm going to originally do this with the projects is I'm first going to make sure that the fully complete is unchecked. I don't want to see the fully complete projects that have went on, purely because these are the ones that I don't actually need to view at this moment in time. When we're doing calls or we're having company calls or we're doing reviews, yes, I might want to see all of the completed projects right there and then, but for this particular view, I don't really want to see that. What I do want to see, and what I'll name this, is projects for this month. And this is going to give me the opportunity to actually filter this to show me that. So if I also add another filter where the date of completion is going to be for this month, which you'll see the start date is relative to this month, and it's going to take all of this month into consideration, it's then going to showcase the ones that are done for this month. Now, obviously we're in June right now. It means that if I'm to change this to, let's say, July, that disappears because we're no longer in this month and it's no longer actually a part of that. So if I bring this back, obviously it's now still on the 25th of June and we're seeing what's going on. Now, the other thing that I would like to see with this is the actual sorting of the date of completion. So again, I'm going to want to sort this of the date of completion in ascending order. I want the one that needs to be done first at the top. So again, if we add this to the 19th, this should be complete on the 19th of June. And if not, then what do we need to do to complete it? We've obviously got task 3 and 4. If we click into here, you're going to be able to see what task 4 is. And again, you can click into task 4 from there and seeing what's going on with task 4 and the steps to complete related to this. So again, this is just a really cool way of seeing what's going on specific ways in which you want to see the databases, how you want them laid out, because you can do this in multiple ways. Let's say, for example's sake, I want to see projects in reward groups. I can actually select the group here to be the project reward, and we can show all. I'm going to hide the no project reward, and this is going to allow us to see which projects are at the high, which projects are at the low. Now, what we can also do with this, instead of having a table, is we can have a board view with it. And we can also add the color columns. We're going to have the side peek, the card preview, and we're also going to show the project rewards, show all, hide this, and actually change these so that they're in order. And it means that if this project actually changed to a medium, then you can change that, and you'll see on the project this has changed to a medium too. If I change this to a low, you'll also see that this has changed to a low. So there's really cool ways of working with the different views of your databases themselves, and how these are actually done to showcase exactly what you're looking for when. So let's do the exact same with the projects for this month, but let's do it for the completed projects. So I'm going to put completed projects this month. And what we're now going to do is we're going to select the filter of the fully complete to be checked. Now, obviously right now there's nothing involved in there, but because this is 100% complete, we now can fully check this. And you'll see that that disappears and it's now into the completed area. So we've now got the fully complete project with 100%, the date of completion, all the tasks involved, and the actual reward for that project. And again, you can sort this in any way that you would like to see. We have the load limit of what's going on. There's multiple things that we can do with this. And this is all in the one space. This is all taking the same data from this project's database, just viewed in different ways. And it gives clients the ability to customize this in any way that they're wanting to, without actually having to worry about what's going on and how they do things in that area. Now, if we want to do the same for the tasks, I'm going to want to see the tasks that are due for today or maybe overdue, ones that we've not completed. So obviously 6th of June compared to the 25th of June, this is something we kind of want to be completing. So how we filter this and how we do this is a little bit different using advanced filters, but really, really easy to do. And I'm going to break it down for you. So let's just say this is tasks to be complete today / overdue. And I'm going to put an exclamation mark to really put my point across that these tasks really need to be complete. And this is something we're looking for. So first and foremost, we're going to filter this by unchecked tasks. We don't want to see the ones we've already completed. Why would we? Because they're not to be completed by today or another time. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to add an advanced filter. Now, what this advanced filter is going to do is going to be that the due date, start date is relative to today, and it's going to be this day. And we're going to add a filter rule or a filter group, which means, or the due date is actually in the past, let's just say the past 3 weeks. Now, what this is going to show is it's going to show the tasks that need to be complete by today, or the tasks that need to be complete 3 weeks ago that haven't been completed. And you'll see that the 6th of June is still there because these are the ones that are need to be completed. Now, obviously what we want to have is the sort with the due date in ascending, because we want the ones that should have been completed earlier to do the same. And then what we can also do with the sort is we can add a second one with the priority, because obviously we want the priorities to go into ascending order with what's going on. Because let's just say, for example's sake, I have a task that's to be due on the 6th. And we've obviously got this as an attack list. We want to have this as the top one. If I change this to low, we obviously want the high one to be at the very top with what we see. If I change this to attack list, we want that to go above. We want those to actually showcase what we're doing. So that gives us the opportunity to do so. We don't need to add any more filters in this area because obviously we've got the advanced filter. We don't need to add ones with specific priorities for this one because it's doing everything that we need to be done. So again, what we can do with this, we're going to duplicate it, and I'm going to just do completed tasks. And again, I'm going to put a checkbox. And from here, we can actually remove this sort of advanced filter as we don't need it for this one. But what we can do is we can then start to add in the filters of that it's been checked. We're going to remove this one and we're going to delete that filter. And we're also going to do the sort in ascending order with the priorities. That doesn't really need to be in place for the completed tasks. But again, we're just going to be able to see the completed tasks that we've done and what's actually happened over this period of time. So we've got the tasks that need to be completed by today, and then we've got completed tasks. Now, maybe we actually want to see, tasks that need to be complete this month, to be completed this month. And all we would do from here is we would get the same filtering of what we were doing before. We can actually just delete this filter. Completed is unchecked, and we're going to put the due date to be this month. And again, all that's going to do is it's going to showcase the ones that need to be completed this month. Their priority sorted by that, because we've got the priority sorted and the due date first. Obviously, we could select the priority to go first, but we want the due date to go first, because then that 12th, because the priority is higher, is going to come up even though that needs to be completed earlier. So we always want the due date to be first, and that allows us to see what's going on. So we've got this, we just change this to date, then we can put kind of the calendar. And it means that we can see this as an overview of what's going on. So we've now got completed tasks, we've got projects this month, we've got projects and group rewards, and we've got one more here. So you can see all of the views, and it can add as many views as you'd like to actually see what's going on. And this is such a fantastic way of just breaking down your databases in a really simple, easy to understand manner, rather than having to go through everything all the time and seeing what's going on. And the final thing I'm going to show you today is actually the ability to add these buttons to do what we want them to do. So let's just say as a new project, we're going to add the icon that we've been using for projects. We're going to put this as that. We're going to add an action, which we're going to add a page to the projects database using the template that we've created. So that's going to follow all of the template rules that we've done. And then what I'm going to do is open the page in a side peek with the page that has just been created. Now, the other step that I'm going to do is I'm just going to add in a confirmation. Do you want to add a new project with a question mark? And then obviously we can continue or we can cancel. Now I'm going to move this up to the top so that every time we click this button, it's going to ask me for that confirmation. This just ensures that maybe anyone coming on for the first time accidentally clicks the button, they don't make the mistake of adding in new projects all the time and getting muddled up with everything that's going on, but allows you to do it. And I'm going to do the exact same for a new task just before I click these buttons and I show them off for what's going on. So a new task, we're going to add the action, add the pages to the specific database that we're looking to build with the same template that we've just created. We're going to open the page and the side peek. I just prefer the side peek. You can choose any one that you want. And again, we're going to show confirmation. Do you want to add a new task? Question mark. Continue. We're going to add this up to the top. You can do this at the start, by the way. I just done that for the sake of doing it. But to showcase exactly what I'm meaning, let's say we're to add a new project. Do you want to add a new project? Yes, I do. We're now going to see the new project load into here with the template that we've just created, tasks directly related to that project. And another awesome thing that we can do is if we want to add the tasks directly into this page, I can. Because now you'll see instantly the new project. Let's just do this gaming for some reason. That new project is instantly going to add into here. This new task is here. The priority is set. We can check this off. We're 100% complete. And this is all working in unison. I'm not going anywhere here. I'm using the one page that I was doing with this. We can see the completed task was going on. Maybe I misclicked. Let's bring it back to the tasks that need to be completed. 25th of June, I can change it to here. And I can also come back out and see all of the tasks that are related to this. Again, this is just keeping everything working as one, working in unison, really bringing things together to make sure that the Notion is working for them rather than against them, and that their systems are working for them rather than against them. They're wanting to make more money. They're wanting to scale their company. They're wanting to take it to the next level. And this is exactly how we do this. Finally, what I would do from here is fill in the progress report from today of the progress that was made. And then obviously from that area where we put in the progress, next steps for me, and then what would be as next steps for client. And at this point, I would fill in all this information. I would give them access to this page. I would send them over the Loom video describing everything that I've done today, the breakdown of how things are going on. And I've also got a Notion training facility for clients. So I usually ask them to watch stage 1 at this point, where they can take their sort of information into Notion, the basics of it, how things are broken down, so that they have everything that they need in order to make this work for them. So again, what we've got information here and we've got everything going on, they can see exactly what's happening and they can actually start to utilize it themselves so that they get a handle of what's actually happening. This is obviously part 1 of a massive breakdown of how I actually build these Notion systems to allow clients to scale their businesses to the next level. I've had clients utilize these systems to completely increase capacity for their businesses, 2, 3, 4x the amount of revenue that they're making in really short spaces of time, purely by their ability to have the right systems in place to make sure that they're focused to work on the demand and the results of the business rather than the systems behind it. So I really enjoy this area of actually showing this off. And in the next video, I'm going to be showcasing and diving in more to some of the databases that I'll be creating, relations that I'm going to be using for these databases to actually build these and take these to the next level. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure to let me know some of the questions you have in the comments and anything you would like to see in the next video. You can click the link on the screen right now to watch another video related to Notion that I know is going to help you take your systems to the next level. Have a fantastic day.